everybody. Welcome to the Mrs. Best Reviews channel. I'm Mrs. Best. We have our co-host from the Watch Your Mouth Reviews channel, James, here. Hello,
Hey.
James.
Hello, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Show my girls some love.
We hope that you do. Also, be sure to see the links in the description. There is a link to James's channel. We do lots of shows on his channel together there as well. And there's a link to Shana's channel. She recaps this show as well, and Basketball Wives, and a couple of shows that me and James recap as well. She's got panels. So support Black creators, hit the subscribe button. It's free. It's free. It's free. But we're here to go over the Never Ever Met. This episode was titled Off in La La Land, Season 2, Episode 8. I think the episode title proves how most of these couples were. They had to be in La La Land because none of what was accepted or occurred this season thus far has made sense or is believable. It's terrible what's going on this show. We start pretty much, we see that Tati and Clay Bossy are both gone. Tati left. She didn't seem to care. I mean, she cared, but she didn't. She crashed out bad. Tati went out bad. It didn't make no sense. That man has lied to you, and you were snapping at him and getting mad about smaller lies, but you accepted the big one. So I'm glad that Tati and Clay are gone. I'm going to ask James on his opinion on them before we move on from them permanently.
I'm glad they're gone too. I felt like that was never going to work. So,
Preach.
Yeah, I'm glad they're sayonara. Have a good life. Have a good life. Enjoy.
Everybody knew that it was not going to work except for those two. Which was crazy. But It seems to be a trend. Now, Brittany was talking with Charlie and Jared about her relationship, or if we could even call it that, with Ty, because they haven't been getting along. And they just had a date at his house with crab and all this expensive seafood and things. And this is where Brittany does admit that with Ty, like, she's not unattracted to him, but right now it's just giving friend vibes. And I don't think she even wants to be Ty's friend. But why is Jared questioning her so hard? That's what was annoying me, because Jared kind of came for her and was telling her that, she needs to acknowledge Ty's love language, and she's not touching and doing the things to him that he needs. And basically, Jared is telling Brittany that she needs to do more. And Charlie's dumbass is over there low-key agreeing. And I'm looking like, why is it always the pot calling the kettle black? Y'all two came on this show with secret babies. It don't get no worse than lying about your child existing. That's the worst of the worst that you could do. So they shouldn't be telling nobody nothing about anything. That's just how I felt. But, it's also like, why can't anyone acknowledge that Brent has, for the most part, been struggling to get the attention of Ty, which we're going to discuss further toward the end of the episode. But I just didn't feel like Jared and Charlie should have been talking to Brittany about that. James, how'd you feel?
I agree. I felt like definitely it was the wrong message and the wrong messengers. Because to me, I don't feel like she needs to do more. I don't feel like she needs to go above and beyond. I feel like they're not compatible. And instead, what they should do is have a conversation about their compatibility and if they really are a match. And if they are not, they need to move on. But to say she needs to do more and needs to show up more because she's not physically attracted to him or whatever it was that Jared was saying that didn't make no sense, by the way. It's kind of like, how are you going to tell them what they need to be doing as if you're one of them too? That was insane.
I think even outside of this show's climate, like, it's important to know that in real life, you can have friend groups, you can have like couples within your friend groups. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that you have the answers to other people's relationship. Just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you can help someone single get into a relationship. And just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean that it's okay for you to tell someone else in a relationship how to handle it. Like, there's a such thing as minding your business. And it was just weird. All of these couples spent so much time talking with each other when at the very least last season, at least the couple saw the therapist and the doctors much more than we saw them do it this season. But, we'll digress. So moving on, you guys, Jared is waiting on his sister to come and see him. That's who's going to be meeting the family next and all of that. And he says that he wants to talk to Charlie once his sister gets there. And I'm looking like, what is with these bitch made men? Y'all need your family around just to be able to talk to someone. You can't communicate on your own. But Jared is worried because he says his sister keeps it 100 and basically she's a straight shooter. He doesn't think that his sister is going to like or be okay with Charlie having 3 extra secret kids. So Jared decides he wants to pull Charlie aside before his sister gets there. And he tells Charlie that weeks ago, earlier in the season, when they were playing a game at the dinner table, which has been the demise of many couples in this group this season, when they asked if they saw themselves moving in with their partner once the cameras go down, Jared put F no. So he finally decides to tell Charlie about it, even though he lied to her when she asked him weeks ago. And he tells her that his plan was to try and convince her and her one child to move to North Carolina with him. But he says that having to process her having 4 kids versus 1 kid was a lot and kind of made him think that he don't know if he want to be with her. He does admit that he said F it and he was like he was just going to have fun to the end and then go their separate ways. But it was just weird. He further tells Charlie that he's going to explain to his sister about her kids and says that his sister does not know about all of that. And he said verbatim that my sister's going to look at me like I'm going to be having to take care of all these kids. That's a lot. That's 4 kids. And this is where Charlie tells him that she did not tell him about her children because in her mind, nobody wants to be with a single mom of 4 kids. Crazy work. We'll get into that momentarily. But she also claims that she has never asked him for help with kids, finances, anything like that, which she's been alluding this whole time that she makes really good money. I'd love to know what she does for a living. But she does ask Jared if he wants to be with her. And he says, in a perfect world, he would love that, which is essentially like, no, for those who are unable to like understand. And I can't help but think like, you didn't give this man the opportunity to accept your kids by not telling him about them. I don't understand how any mother could not tell someone that they're a mother, especially if you're dating someone and your goal in dating them is to marry them. If it's just somebody you're casually dating, a little friends with benefits situation, somebody you just call on the midnight hour, fine, but they should at least know you have kids, even if they're not meeting them. They should at the very least know. So I felt like that was strange. But then at the same time, he should not have strung her along. So I don't feel sorry for Charlie or Jared. They both getting what they deserve. Um, I don't know. It's just really strange. Like just because you're a single mom doesn't automatically make you damaged goods, but it does mean that you come with baggage, which kids are. And that's okay. That's not an insult towards the kid. That's not an insult towards a parent. That's just the fact. Like people who don't have kids, a lot of us, it's intentional. I don't have kids because I don't want children right now, So if I were to like end up single and to go date someone who has even just 1 kid, I will just be like, do I really want to deal with that in addition to the person? That's why I always recommend that people who don't have kids stay away from people who do, if possible. It's okay to date people who have kids if you don't, and vice versa. But that's where you really got to make sure you're going all in because innocent children are impacted. But clearly, Charlie is like somewhat ashamed, it seems like, of having kids. But let's get James's opinion on all that happened because I was so baffled.
I was baffled as well. But I wasn't baffled for the same reasons you were baffled. I was baffled by the mind games that Jared was playing with her. And I know that Charlie is not innocent. I'm not saying she is. But if she laid it out on the table and you decided, okay, well, let's still give this a go, you don't then choose to play mind games with her by lying to her saying that a question that you answered for a game was a yes when really it was a no. You should have told her right then and there, I'm the one that wrote fuck no. because I need you to understand something right now. This is the headspace that I'm in. Because you just dropped something on me, even though he just equally dropped something on her. And a lot of y'all were saying, well, it doesn't, a lot of them on the TV, and some of y'all fans were saying, well, hers doesn't equal his. Like, he only had one kid to drop on her. She hit away for, yes, she did. But at the same time, it's the same thing. Neither one of them were honest with each other, regardless if she had 3 or even if she had 10. He still had the same secret. So that
I
makes him.
I think from the perspective of being like, it is worse on her end. Women don't just have kids. We have to birth them, go through the labor, be folded into whatever position to get the child here, to go through all of that, and then to still lie about the child's existence, but then to choose to only acknowledge one of your children. That's horrible. However, I do agree with you with the mind games. The mind games he played disgusted me, because regardless on how you feel about a person, you don't fight like, 2 wrongs don't make a right. It will never make a right. And I feel like he, like you said, James, he also lied. He just lied about one child, but I think to lie about having a child in general, whether it's one child, 2 children, or 7 children, is horrible. Horrible,
Yes,
horrible,
I
horrible.
agree, but we're talking about situational versus circumstantial. We're not talking. I'm talking about situational, because in the situation, they both came to the table with the exact same lie.
The situation is
Circumstantial,
different when it comes to a woman, though, because she's a
it
mother
doesn't,
and
not
she
necessarily.
birthed them
Circumstantially,
babies.
yes, it does. No, I get what you're saying. Circumstantially, yes, absolutely.
That's
But we're
situational
in this
also in
moment,
her case.
not necessarily, because he
It
has a
is.
newborn as well.
She's the only mother to these kids, and they're in her possession.
Yeah,
So
but
if
I'm
she
saying that's circumstantial. We're talking about where they are today. We're in this show. We're not talking about the fact that she's hidden. Because to me, I would agree with you in the terms of, if he didn't have anything, and maybe he lied about having a BMW and really got a Mercedes. That to me, it doesn't equal. Yes, right. She would be 100% wrong. But to me, it was more so he was trying to make her more of the person who was wrong in the situation,
she
versus
is.
saying, but it doesn't matter though. He still chose her. I can
He
see if
did.
he's
And
still okay.
that's the thing. That's what
Yeah,
everyone
so
agrees, that yes, he was wrong to make her think it was cool when it wasn't. But
I
on
think
the
he was
same
wrong for that
end,
circumstance as well. I'm sorry.
on the
I don't.
same end, it's like, well, honey, what did you expect coming into a situation lying? And
But
with him,
keep in mind they were together 4 years. So keep in mind, she's trusting who she has had a virtual relationship with for 4 years. She may have brought him things that he was okay with or he was cool with, building that confidence of like, okay, I've let him know. So when he tells me it's cool, the situation is cool, because in other times he says, no, that situation is cool. I think when we put people in behavioral patterns and when we tell them things and their natural response is, it's cool. And when we hear that subconsciously, we're like, okay, he's cool with it, because before, when he says he's cool with something, it has been okay. And to me, I feel like he gives me that type of person where he says it's not a big deal or that's okay. I
the
feel like
thing
when
of
he
it
told her
is,
that. Mhm.
Charlie, you said yourself, these people been in a relationship, as it says on the show, for 4.5 years. They've been on
Right,
the show 4.5 years.
right.
They both have newborns. Charlie
Mhm.
has been lying to this man for the full 4.5 years. He been lying to her, likely, at least with what we know, because I feel like he lied about other stuff that wasn't on the show. But he's been lying to her if they both have newborns for a few months, at very best 9 to 10 months, where she's been lying about kids for 4.5 freaking years. So it's hard to say, in my opinion, who's more wrong. But with Charlie being a woman and with me being a woman, I'll never respect no bitch who
No, I
moves
don't
like
respect
this
her either.
with her
Let me
kid.
get clear. I don't respect her either. I think that she's a low down person, but I don't think he's any better, is what I am saying.
No,
I'm not saying she's
that's
wrong.
what I've said this whole
Yes,
time. Also, he's no better. However, that's why I said I don't feel sorry for either of these people. But to be a woman and willing to step away from your newborn when you are breastfeeding, when the baby ain't even 30 full days old, to chase after a nigga that you know you've been lying to about this baby, just ugh.
No, it's
Like,
wrong.
it's
No,
different.
absolutely, it's
It's
wrong.
different because
Absolutely.
she is needed. That baby needs her right
No,
now, and
I know
she's
she's
just doing
trash. Yeah,
whatever
but
the
I'm just
hell.
saying for him to punish her the way he did, I don't think that that was right because
It
you're not.
definitely was not right. He should have just kept it a buck. However, we have to remember that you are what you attract,
Yep,
and they both some liars,
yep,
and so they attracted liars. So
absolutely.
therefore, I don't feel bad for either of them. Either of them, they both
And I
got what the
hope
hell they
women
deserve.
watching this that think because there's women when you go down the own chat and you see how women think that he's so cute. I hope y'all
Oh
really are
no,
paying attention to the characteristics of that cute.
he disposed of her like he did his wife. He was like, "I was a great husband. It was exhausting." He just
Yeah,
said that the last episode, talking about I did it for 3 years. That ain't shit.
it's like
That's
Jerry,
a,
you might not be into women, and I want you to kind of look at. And
you've
I
been
know a lot of
saying
y'all
that
are like,
since episode 1.
because here's the thing that it's the words. It's like it's the words and it's the actions, and they're very dire. Like if you take away, he said that he stopped being a good husband because he was exhausted or overwhelmed. Not that she did anything wrong, at least not that he said. Not that she was like, he just said he got exhausted. Those are words that, like what Martell Holt says, she was not satisfying me. Satisfying being the operative word. When men say choice words like that, I really truly believe it's because you're not meant to be with that species of human. I really do believe that because you wouldn't use those kind of words. Those are kill choice words. Those are not like, okay, well, it's just we had a bump in the road, or we went through some challenges as a couple. He literally put the blame on the other person, just like he put in the blame with Charlie here as to why he couldn't make a decision versus just walking away. That's what I said. I don't really think he's into women. I don't, and I don't think he knows it. But I tell people when men start saying things like that, I challenge all women to say try men. When men start saying that, because you should never be that big of an issue. You're two people trying to figure one situation out every single day. You're two people trying to do it. Some days are going to be tough. Some days are going to be beautiful. But to sit there and blame a person for why it's tough is crazy.
Yeah, that is true. Jared is just a red flag, I think, in every direction. But at the same time, Charlie is as well, because I also feel inclined to say, like, if you have the thought process that being a single mom with so many kids is like a red flag or a turnoff to men, then why did you allow yourself to be in that situation?
Or what man manipulated you into being in that situation? Or what did you do to manipulate a man to be in that situation? Because it's one or the other. Because I don't think that you really went into all those situations. Because potentially there could be four fathers, or it could just be one or two. But to me, it just seems like your last relationship, or at least the last, conceptual relationship you had, was with someone during Jared's time. So what were you trying to prove?
Yep.
There's the question we all have is what exactly you try to prove. And to me, your best friend shouldn't have been the person that came on the show. Your mama should have been here. I need to
Her
meet your parents.
mama watching the baby.
I know what she, you know what? He know about the baby now. So she need to bring her mom on the show. I need to meet her parents. Because I need to know what upbringing she had to think that this is okay way to be. And then to accept this kind of behavior from this man that you have not even been in physical attachment until just now, 4 years later.
I just think we should have all known their relationship was a joke. If y'all both have new babies, then y'all both was cheating on each other at the same time in your relationship. So how deep
Versus
could the
just
shit
walking
really
away
be?
from it, like
Right, which is
common
childish
sense.
in itself, especially at their big ages. Most people their ages like should know better, but this is just proof you could be successful, you could have a degree and all these great things and still have no fucking common sense when it comes to dating. And Charlie and Jared are both proof of that. I can't with these two. But moving forward, because we're gonna have to come back to these people. Alexis and Chris go to meet with Dr. Ali. The way James feel about Jared and his sexuality is how I feel about Chris and his. But they meet with Dr. Ali, and Chris is speaking on his childhood trauma. He said he had 8 step parents. That's crazy. That's crazy. That is absolutely crazy. Now, this is where you don't let every person meet your kids, but maybe let them know you got them, because that's crazy. And he says something about having his own apartment in the 9th grade and nobody being around and feeling controlled because of Alexis's dominance. Nothing that he said about his childhood, like little parts of it connected to him having issues with the dominance, but it more so made me look at him like, is this why you're going for an older woman? Like, what's really going on,
Hmm.
dude? That's the
Mommy
only thing I
issues.
got from it because nothing else connected. But Alexis admits to being dominant and says it's part of her culture. The doctor asks the question that Jared and Charlie was talking about from that damn game. And if they want to leave together or not, Chris admits he put no. He says he's had all the conversations he's had, and he's still trying to figure out if he wants to be with Alexis. Bruh, you don't like her. Just admit that. I'm getting tired of this couple, James. I'm gonna let you take the floor because I'm so tired of Alexis and Chris. I actually didn't mind Alexis this episode, but
Mm.
I feel like Chris don't want her, and I don't feel like I don't. Go ahead, James. I can't.
When it comes to Alexis, I feel like she's in her own way
Mm.
by refusing to see that her behavior patterns are atrocious. And I feel that she realistically is not seeing how this could play a part in why you don't have a successful relationship to date. I feel like instead of you just saying this is just the way I am, it obviously comes from a stem of brokenness somewhere. You don't just be born and just be abrasive, aggressive, and atrocious. Like that just does not happen from birth until up until you're 50. That just does not happen like that, man. Something had to have happened to where you built this very big castle with the largest moat anybody's ever seen, and you have a million alligators and they're ready to bite somebody. That does not happen. So instead of you trying to normalize that as if someone has to accept that, nobody has to accept that kind of behavior from you because it comes off when you don't have control, you bite the person's head off because you want to turn their head as well as yours because that's easier for you versus actually allowing someone to have a 50-50 equal with being in charge of your relationship together because that's the whole point. And I
Mm-hmm.
think the other part of it, she just may be asexual. And ain't nothing wrong with that. I want
Nothing.
people to start normalizing that. There's nothing wrong with being asexual. Sometimes being with a human species, as we learn in biology, sometimes you're not compatible with any. That's why the psychological term of asexual exists, because there's sometimes in psychology and also in biology where there's an exception to every rule. She's an exception to every rule. So she needs to be asexual and just embrace it. And if you need to have sex every now and then go ahead and have it. But at the end of the day, you need to be by yourself because how you move is ridiculous. Now, as far as Chris, you need to get very, very critical psychological help because the way you carry your trauma, it's like we almost can see it as a wagon you pulling right behind you. It is very evident and it is very clear that one or both of your parents have harmed you. And it could be their ways, it could be physical, it could be emotional, it could be any type of thing. But you carry it with you and it tends to seep out in your relationships, just like your relationship with Alexis, which I feel like you were looking for your mom. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel like Alexis represents that with her aggressiveness, with her atrociousness, with her being abrasive the way she is. I feel like in some way that may be your mother. Or maybe even your father, who knows? But I'm just saying, to me, the fact that you carry all of that weight with you, you need to start letting that go and learn how to forgive yourself for what you did not know. Because that's not your responsibility to carry all that weight. That's not all yours. The fact that you had, how many he said, 6 step parents?
8.
8 step parents, sorry. 8 step parents. The fact that you continue to reference that, because that's now what the third time we've heard this on this show since you've been on it. None of that is your weight to carry. Your parents didn't want to be alone. That's just point blank period. That's not a reflection of you. That has nothing to do with you. So you need to stop carrying that with you, unless you're just telling it as a joke. That's the only time I really want to hear that. So yeah, they both need help, but I just thought that this session should have just came with more counseling. They should have left the show after this, personally.
I agree. I agree. Because this couple, it was like, and then as we continue, which we'll get to, it was like struggle bus after that, very disingenuous. I think Own was just, I think Own knows they messed up with the casting this season. I don't think anyone will last or make it. I just don't. But Jared's sister Jewel comes.
She annoyed me, but go ahead.
Charlie's best friend from high school arrives.
She didn't say
20-year friendship. That could be really good or really bad. Okay, I have friends from high school who I've grown closer with since being out of high school. So our relationship more leans towards an adult friendship, like James, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I have friends that I've stayed close with since leaving high school. And the reason I say it could be really good or really bad is because there's some that have grown with me, and there's some that are still stuck in that same mindset.
Mm.
And that's why I don't think it's always good to have your friends in situations with dating. I feel like that this is really where family does shine, because they feel safe to state how they actually feel. But I guess with these people, since they won't make it, don't matter anyway. But Jared tells his sister Jewel about Charlie having 4 kids instead of actually just one. And he says that he himself is a new dad, and he's still learning how to be a parent and co-parent, quiet as kept. And so to have to then take on her 4 kids is a lot. Here's the thing. Jared had valid points in what he said. However, he threw all that shit out the window when he chose to lie with that girl, lie on Charlie, and sleep with her, and then continue to
Mm-hmm.
make her think that everything is cool. Like, that was
Mm-hmm.
foul. Now, if he had not done that and said what he said, everybody would be on his side, because he's absolutely right. He just learning to be a parent himself, and to then have to go and be a parent to 4 other kids that don't belong to you is a lot, because you also have to learn how to be a step parent. That's where a lot of these step parents be messing up. Quite
Um,
a skip.
I want to remind everybody, because not you weren't the only person that made that point. There were a few other YouTubers that I watched that made this exact point about Jared. Jared has an older child outside of the newborn, so he has experience. Now, where I agree with you all is that that is a lot to take on. Is 4 children when you don't know the circumstances of the fathers or father, whatever she has. We know there's at least 2 different fathers, because she said the one was a one night stand that she didn't even want to, go further, but it did. That is a lot. I don't begrudge him for that. But what I want people to understand is that regardless of whatever it is, you should have left episode 1
Yep.
when she told you. So by you accepting it and sleeping with her, which I agree 100% with what you said, you should have never slept with her. You should have never gave her false hope. But you
Mm-hmm.
still stood by her and still continue your plans of trying to get her to where you are in South Carolina. But let's not say because he has experience with children. He has an older child.
So
So he
he
has
does have experience. I always forget that he has an older child,
an
but
older
even
child, yeah.
so, he
Everybody
does have
forgets
to
that because we're
still.
so focused on the newborn.
But even so, she knew about the older child. I always forget myself, which is crazy. But even so, Jared definitely still has a point, because you still have to learn how to be a good step parent. A lot of step parents just go into it like they love the parent of the kids, and some of them bond with them, some of them don't. Some of them bond with them just to not be cool with the kids when they beefing with the parent. Uh, but I think to be any type of a parent, you should definitely prepare. So I hear what he's saying, but it means nothing because of how he handled it.
Yeah.
Charlie, her dumbass is still hurting. It works out, and she's going to meet his sister. And the meet with the sister wasn't as dramatic as they tried to make it seem. She explained that she probably makes more money than him, but she also said that it does look bad for her to have so many kids, that she kept the secret. She just seems like she's ashamed of having kids, the way she describes it. But she makes it clear to her sister that she expected an issue out of Jared when she told him, but Jared made her believe that they were okay, because the sister was trying to go hard for Jared at first, but she explained that, and the sister heard her. But I was looking at Charlie because some of what she said, like her mentioning she makes more money and the financial thing, it's like, honestly, you making a lot of money don't mean shit. Like,
It doesn't. And I
why,
felt like
why?
that was a relevant point. I'm glad that you make the money that you do and that you make more than Jared to support your children. I'm glad that you do. But that does not negate the fact that you just had a 1-month-old baby and you here on TV chasing after this fool, as Mrs. Best said. That does not negate any of what you're saying because you make the money. That's like people saying how Nick Cannon has all these children. Well, he has the money to support them. Yeah, but he doesn't have the time. He physically cannot get to every single child in the moment that they may need him. One child is going to get left behind. It is impossible for a person who has to work to support, but also have to give his time. Charlie, you're not giving your time because however long you were here filming, you have taken away from your other 4 kids. So, yes, I felt like that was complete out of line. I didn't care about her making that much money. I don't care if she didn't work at all. You're here chasing this man who does not want you because you
Right.
have 4 children. So she could just miss me with that, but he seemed to not negate it. Like when she said it, he was like, "Yeah, she does make more money than I do," and I'm like, "Okay, then what the fuck are we doing here then?" So Charlie, what was the plan? Because no, not Charlie, Jared, what was the plan? Because you're trying to move her to where you are, supposedly, and she makes more money than you do. Okay, okay, that's how we do things. Okay. I'm just not. This conversation was so pointless to me. I didn't even think we should even have had it at this point. Because what more do we need to know about this?
Right. It was a mess. It was a mess. The sister was kind, but you
She
know,
annoyed me a little bit, and let me tell you why she annoyed me. Because to me, it was kind of like, your brother kept this secret because he told you he kept a secret about his baby, and she kept a secret about hers. You should have been more neutral. Because to me, it felt like she was trying to chastise Charlie a little bit on the lie when I feel like that's not your place.
it's definitely not her place. I understood where the girl was coming from, and she made a really good point. Like, your children should be your pride and joy. That should be upfront. That's not something you just lie about. I think with women, like even men watching this know it's off, but I think with women it digs a little deep, cuts us a little deeper because that's what we do. That's literally what we do is
No, I
create
get it. I get it.
humans. And
I'm not saying she's
if
valid. I
it
just feel
pisses
like
you
I would like
off,
her to be less subjective.
I think that was separate from her brother. I think it's just the lack of respect. Like, but at the same time, I do feel like she held her brother accountable to a certain extent, and there's
I
only
was
so
gonna say
much
to a
she can
certain extent.
do. Huh?
No, you're right. No, you're absolutely right. I just was annoyed with her more so because I kind of felt like, and I think it was Jared doing it, not so much it was her. I feel like it was Jared saying, like, I know my sister about to have my back and everything, and I'm off scot clean. It gave that impression. And I think when she finally got her chance to, shine in this, it kind of felt like that in the beginning. Like you were chastising her because your brother told you of all the awful things, even though he did complain about his. It just seems like y'all are continuously trying to punish this lady.
I mean, that's what happens when you lie about having 4 children. That's a big deal. That is a big deal. She knew about his previous child at the very least. He didn't get to know. That's like a really, really big deal for a woman or a man. That's a big deal. But especially with her as the person who has sole custody of her kids, it sounds like they in her house and all of that. And to lie for so long, like that's a big deal. So I think anybody dealing with Charlie hearing that would feel kind of like, whoa, what the hell? But the sister did acknowledge, Jewel did acknowledge at the end of things, like, and Jared, you should have told her, like, and she did listen to her. Now, if she would have came in with an attitude and not gave Charlie the opportunity to speak, I would feel annoyed. But at the very least, she listened to her, which was more than a lot of siblings would have done, honestly, for their sibling. But these people suck. They'll always suck. And it's interesting Jared treats women like this, because how would you feel if somebody treats your sister like that, bro? Like, what
Right.
you
And,
doing?
and like, I don't know if he has daughters, but I'm like, dude, you, your daughter, like, if you have daughters, they're going to watch this and see how you just really let this lady just make you the bad guy when you really were not in the wrong here.
Yeah, it's a
That's
joke. I think Jared felt like it would be okay for him to like be his authentic self, which is a douchebag to women, and play this woman because I think part of him knew like, oh, the audience would look at her worse because she has all of these kids that she lied about. But we still looking at you pretty bad too, bro. You're just as bad, just in a different way. She's a shitty mother. You, yeah, he's shitty in other ways as well. But Alexis and Ty go on this date. I hate talking about these people. Or not Alexis and Ty. Um, oh, what the hell is her name? Brittany and Ty. No, this was not Brittany and Ty. Who the hell went on the boxing date?
it
My
was
brain is.
Alexis and Chris.
I couldn't remember Chris's name. I wrote
Yeah,
Ty. God help
Alexis
me.
and Chris. Yeah,
Anywho, Alexis and Chris, they go on a boxing date at Floyd Mayweather's gym, which was pretty cool. This is my type of date, y'all. I like dates like that. But the date went well, but it just seemed like to me that she keeps hearing him paint her as not being feminine because she's more aggressive. And I don't like how she's kind of giving into that. And it's like, well, I'm gonna do something he wants. Because it seems like he's putting her in a position to pretty much give him what he want all the time. If he not getting what he wants, then there's something wrong with how she is in a relationship. There's something wrong with her as a woman. And I don't like that. I just want Alexis to realize it's not all about him. I don't think this couple's going to make it. And I'm going to ask James's opinion of the date now.
my opinion of the date, and I'm gonna say like this: I don't think it did anything of any help to them. If anything, I feel like this date set them back even
Mm-hmm.
further than where they were. And to me, what Chris is missing and what Alexis is missing is y'all are missing the romance in your relationship. You're missing the romance because it now comes across as who can one up the other.
Yep.
And that's how we're looking at y'all. Y'all are missing what romances, what can he do sexually to please you? What can you do sexually to please him?
He's not. So Alexis has been a little mouthy and aggressive, but she's been willing to be, it seems like, accepting of affection, like compared to like someone like Brittany, for instance, who's not willing to accept affection and then complains about not getting it. Chris, I've noticed, is not put in as much work as I feel like he should have put in to be more affectionate. He did that one good date at the beginning, and then it all just.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but that's what I'm saying. I feel like that's once again, his trauma is running to the forefront of his brain when he looks at her. So that's why I'm saying they're missing a lot of key elements that would make their relationship pleasant. I think that that's what we're saying here because that date didn't make any sense to me. That's like
It
something
wasn't
you,
even really a date. That's something
yeah,
I would do with you if I come visit
right. I was just
Arizona
gonna
for a
say that.
week.
Yeah,
Like, let's go work out, friend, but let's do a fun, different type of workout. That wasn't,
right.
it wasn't like date. I mean, maybe that could be a date if you
But what would
like
that?
been with someone a long
What would
time,
that
but it
date
was a
teach?
workout.
What would that date teach someone about the other? Is
Nothing.
where exactly, and that's my point to this. It doesn't teach them the inner abilities of what they can be in a relationship. It just gives them another outlet to uh, let out aggression and anger, which to me, I don't feel like that needs to happen in that element. I think that needs to happen in someone's counseling office for both of them. So that's why I'm just like I'm over these two because I feel like yeah, they're not going to last for sure, and I want him to get help, and I want her to soften up just a little bit,
Mm,
just a little bit.
mm. I agree. She does need to soften up a tad, but not with this guy. She needs to soften up for the right person. Um, so back at the house, everybody has dinner, and every time these people have dinner, it's drama. They play another game. Do y'all realize most of these couples are gone because of these games and what they reveal and what they cause? But things go well until Ty and Brittany are asked. Well, Brittany is asked. They're asked if they, for the people who have not had sex, do they think that they will have sexual chemistry once it gets to that point? Brittany takes forever to answer, tries to say, I don't know, and is telling the confessional, like, I don't feel comfortable talking about stuff like this and like in front of other people, which made me like, okay, then why did you apply to be on TV? But Ty immediately said no. And this was similar to what James said on Alexis and Chris's date. It seemed like tit for tat. Like, oh, you want to think about it and make me look dumb? Well, I ain't gonna say nothing. And then Brittany's like, I spared him by saying yes. I'm like, girl, you ain't spared that man. Everybody know you don't like that man. From their first date, Brittany has had a wall up. Now, Ty, I felt like he could have done more to get her wall down, but when he finally did, she wasn't willing to accept it. So I feel like they just were not able to meet each other halfway. With Brittany and Ty, I don't even feel like it's nothing that deep. They just didn't meet each other halfway with the effort. I still fully think he wants to be a comedian or somebody else. I still don't believe this man is truly 38 years old. And the group pretty much notices that, because Brittany gets up and walks away, and the group notices that Brittany pulls back from everybody and everything and then gets mad when she doesn't get attention or things don't go her way, which is true. But I'm looking at Jay with the side eye, and I saw the little sneak peek for next week. Jay has been throwing shade at Brittany. Jay's messy, is what I'm gonna say. Jay is messy, and Cinco, like, he stirs the pot too, but not as bad. But Cinco and Jay are both a little bit messy, and I don't like
It
that.
seems like they follow each other's lead.
Yep.
Like they're just like one of those couples. Like if they have a couples party, they're the ones responsible for why everybody got drunk in the first place because you don't see them passing you a drink every now and then. That's what they give me. They give me that couple. We all know a couple like that, so don't act like y'all don't. Y'all know a couple when you go to their parties, you end up coming out way different than you came in. Like you
And you
just
didn't intend to.
right. And then they do it in a messy way. You don't want another drink, but my liquor ain't good enough for you and stuff like that. And then you feel guilty, and then you give in, and by the third drink, you didn't toe up everything. So yeah,
I can't stand you. Yeah, there's just a lack of, because there's so many people like that me and him probably know mutually.
yeah,
But Lord help us. Ty basically goes and talks to Brittany, but she's still in front of other people, and she basically wants to talk in private, which irritated me because if you want to talk in private, say I would prefer if me and you could like go upstairs or go somewhere private that we could talk. She doesn't communicate well, but he doesn't either. Things get heated. He explains he said no because she took so time to say yes and that embarrassed her or embarrassed him. And she was saying she did not take a long time to say yes and was trying to explain, but then he interrupted and spoke. And then she did the can I talk? You never let me speak. And I'm like, I feel like they both are guilty of it. I don't feel like she don't let him speak, and I don't feel like he let her speak. They both, it's literally tit for tat with these two, and there's just such bad communication. They are not going to last. I've knew this episodes ago, but they're not going to last. But James, how'd you feel about the interaction? Because I could tell Jay about to turn on Brittany, and the whole house is too.
um, yeah, I I do see. Here's the thing, because I'm trying to be objective because I understood both sides actually. I did. I understood both sides. Seeing how I do online dating myself, and I met my partner online, I understood a little bit, but I do think that she is playing, and I think that he's trying to meet her halfway. I think he's trying to meet her halfway, but I also think he's trying to not do it in a way where she would be uncomfortable based on the first day. And now he's kind of getting annoyed with it.
Yep.
Like he's getting annoyed with having to always bend himself in the pretzel to soothe her. And then it not being good enough because according to the house, she's not physically attracted to him. So like, she just sees him in the friend zone. And it's because you're not trying to see him beyond that. Because truth be told, you're not over him potentially hooking up with a man or kissing a man or whatever it is he admitted to or did not admit to or whatever that shit was. You're not over that. It's very obvious and it's very clear.
This
And
is why the show needs to put couples, I think, do it like they do Married at First Sight and let the couples interact and film them in their own spaces.
yes,
You know, because when you put a bunch of people in front of other people, they're all going to feel like they can't do certain things. They have to behave a certain way because people are around. And I see that impacted every single couple here, separate from all the other issues and lies and stuff. But they all needs to change the concept or
they
put
do
less
because
couples.
to me, I feel like that's not fair to him And it's also not fair to her in the instance because she can't make a decision soundly without looking like the bad guy on national TV. And then also in the same boat for him, he, continuously folding himself into a pretzel for her because that's what he feels he needs to do in order for some outcome to be in his favor. I feel like that's also not fair to him. So that's why I said I understood both sides because I also date and I have done both things. I have folded myself into a pretzel for somebody, and then I also, you know, kind of kept someone at a distance because I felt like it just wasn't really what I wanted, but the person didn't do anything wrong. And at that time, I didn't know with my mindset that you don't have to be with someone just for the reason of not wanting to be with them. I didn't realize that that was something that was true. So I thought that made me look like an asshole. But I want to let people know you don't have to be with a person just because you don't want to be with them. That's
Mm.
all it is. You don't have to be with them.
Yep.
You don't need a reason. You don't need a choice. You don't need any of that. You just need to say, hey, I don't want to be with you because I don't want to be with you. Point blank and period. And I think society has normalized that someone has to do something wrong in order for you to leave them.
That is true. And it doesn't have to be that way. You could leave somebody just because it's Tuesday. Just tell them you don't want
Yes.
to that. It's that
Yes.
simple.
And I think that that puts unnecessary pressure. And I feel like that's what we're looking at. There's unnecessary pressure where now she has to be pushed to her limit in order to say, fuck it, I'm gone. And I don't think that that's fair. I really don't. I don't think that that's fair at all. And I don't
I
think that's
also think Brittany came on this show difficult. I knew that her and Ty would not work the moment we met her. She spoke about her son and what he needed out of a daddy more than she spoke about what she would need out of a partner in
agreed.
life.
Agreed.
And so I do think she's responsible for a little bit of Ty's reaction, but I also think that Ty, when he gets frustrated, becomes condescending and passive aggressive. And it's a recipe for disaster. We will see more next week, you guys. We are going to end this live and head into James's live. He has an updates video on his channel. Did you have any final thoughts, James Jackson?
Y'all need to treat this as like what is that one? Married at First Sight. What's the one where they live together?
Married at First Sight.
Yeah, y'all need to treat the show like Married at First Sight because it is crazy. It is just like this show is just because it's not fun to watch. It just isn't. It's not fun to watch. All these scenarios and circumstances, with the exception of Jay and Cinco, are just insane.
Yep. Yeah, it don't make sense. And I think Jay and Cinco just as bad. They just be in the mess, so we can't see it. But
well, they're the only ones I have hope for. So
I wouldn't. But that's it, you guys, for this episode of Never Ever Met. We're going to head on to James's channel. The link to his channel is in the description of this video. We do hope that you like the video. Comment your opinions if you're part of the replay gang. We will still be around to comment back. Other than that, we will see you next time. And I hope you have a good night. And thank you for being here, James. Adios.
Thank you. Bye-bye.